The challenge that silenced the world. The air in the gym was thick with tension, as if time itself had held its breath. It was one of those days in Hong Kong, humid and heavy, when the sweat was not just from exertion, but from anticipation. Bruce Lee, then 32, was already a legend on the move, a man who had turned kung fu into poetry and philosophy into action. But there, at that moment, he was not the icon immortalized on screen. He was just a fighter, standing in the center of the mat, facing an arrogant young man who had dared to challenge everything he stood for. Donnie Yen, at 19 years old, was a prodigy of the new generation, fast, technical, full of fire. He had grown up hearing stories of Bruce Lee, but something inside him burned with the need to prove that times had changed. That afternoon, in front of an audience of teachers, students and onlookers, he crossed his arms and launched the challenge with a provocative smile. "They say you're the best. But I don't see that. Show me something worth it." The words hung in the air like an affront. Some of those present held their breath. Others exchanged nervous glances, waiting for Bruce's reaction. He didn't move right away. He just tilted his head slightly, his dark eyes fixed on Donnie, as if he were assessing not the fighter in front of him, but the very essence of the challenge. Then, with a calm that seemed almost disdainful, he said a single word. "Show me." It was as if the world had stopped. Donnie attacked first, as expected. A roundhouse kick, fast, precise, his pure technique, trained to exhaustion. Bruce dodged it with a minimal, almost lazy movement, as if the blow didn't even deserve his attention. Another attack, this time a direct punch, followed by a sequence of blows that would make any opponent retreat. But Bruce didn't back down. He danced. It wasn't a fight. It was art. With an almost imperceptible movement, he moved to the side, and before Donnie could register what was happening, he felt the impact. A sharp, precise slap to the shoulder, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to knock him off balance. Donnie tried to recover, but Bruce was already behind him. A light touch on the back of his neck, as if a ghost had marked him. Another blow, this time to the knee, making him stagger. And then, the inevitable, a low, controlled kick, which knocked him down without violence, just with the certainty of someone who knows exactly what they are doing. Donnie fell to his knees, chest heaving, eyes wide. There was no pain, no humiliation, just the sudden realization that he was facing not a man, but a force of nature. Bruce hadn't fought. He had joked. Like a cat and a mouse, but without cruelty. Demo only. The gym erupted in murmurs. Masters who had spent decades perfecting their techniques lowered their heads in respect. Students who had idolized Donnie minutes before now understood the difference between talent and mastery. Bruce extended his hand, helping the young man to his feet. There was no triumph on his face, just an almost fatherly serenity. Speed is nothing without control. Strength is nothing without wisdom. You have potential, but you need to learn to see before you attack. Donnie Yen never challenged him again. But he also never forgot that moment. Years later, when he himself became a legend, he used to tell the story with an embarrassed smile. Not as a defeat, but as a lesson, one that taught him that true power is not in winning, but in understanding. And Bruce Lee? He simply walked off the mat as he always had, without fuss, without unnecessary words. Because some men don't need to prove anything. They just are. And the world, sooner or later, learns to bow.